Warning, this deck is extremely expensive. So they say it's pretty hard to buy houses nowadays, but I'll be real. People who say that have never tried building this deck. Now when I say this, I'm only exaggerating a little bit, as this deck list of 55 cards, 30 of them are ultra rare. And this isn't a structure deck. This isn't some sort of cheap deck you can sort of cheat out most of the ultra rares. I think there's maybe one sale and maybe one card from a structure deck that I'm using that are ultra rare. Everything else, I think the other 28 ultra rares, you have to craft. Of course, you can actually pull some of the ultra rares from one of the packs if you're lucky, but keep in mind, the Dinomorphia pack isn't actually in the game at the moment. The only Dinomorphia pack is the current selection pack that's up, but that doesn't actually contain all of the Dinomorphia ultra rares, meaning, yes, you could get lucky and pull some of them, but you're still going to have to craft a buttload more. And the sad truth about it all is you may think, wow, such a pay-to-win whale player. You're not paying to win here. This deck list is actually pretty good, don't get me wrong, it's actually a pretty solid deck list, but only at going first. You go second, if your opponent isn't playing anything slow, you don't really run many hand traps, so you're just kind of like, But for those of you that have already invested into this deck list when the selection pack was around the last time, for you, we've got ourselves some brand new support, and it's actually a pretty significant upgrade. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before getting to the deck list, if you're enjoying today's video and see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, as apparently about 50% of the people watching this are even subscribed to the channel, yet nearly all of you are returning viewers who have seen my content before. So if you're enjoying this video, find yourself to come back to the channel and want to see more content just like this in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's get into the deck list. Alright, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about the deck list in this particular video, simply because I've already done a Dinomorphia video, and there isn't that many new cards in here, but the new cards we did get are pretty damn strong. Starting with, of course, the new SR card, Dinomorphia Frenzy. So a bit of context before I talk about this trap card. For those of you that actually haven't played Dinomorphia before, the entire purpose of this deck list is to make your life points as low as possible, so when you summon out your big fusion monsters, they have a bunch of absurd effects, such as gaining like 4,000 attack, and then brand new fusion monster just floodgating any monster that has less attack than your current life points, which we'll talk about in just a second. So that's a bit of context. So Dinomorphia Frenzy. During your opponent's main phase, pay half your life points to fusion summon one Dinomorphia monster from your extra deck using only one monster from your deck and one monster from the extra deck, very important that we'll talk about in a moment, as fusion material. And of course it has the same trap effects that all your Dinomorphia trap cards have, where if it's in the graveyard, you can banish it so you don't take any effect damage if your opponent tries to burn you, because obviously your life points go very damn low with Dinomorphia, so it's nice to have protection from burn in your graveyard. So you Dinomorphia players have probably already noticed the similarities between this card and the other Dinomorphia trap card that you use to fusion summon, as they're effectively doing the exact same thing. But this time, we get to use one card from the extra deck as well, which is quite important because your brand new fusion monster needs to use a card from the extra deck, well, has to use a Dinomorphia fusion monster. One Dinomorphia fusion monster plus one Dinomorphia monster. Your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters they control that have attack greater than or equal to your life points. Obviously, that is an insane effect, it's literally a skill drain in most cases. You can use each of the following effects of Dinomorphia Rexterm once per turn. Quick effect, you can pay half your life points, the attack of all monsters your opponent currently controls become equal to your life points until the end of this turn. Also a bonkers effect, considering your life points are sometimes in the hundreds. If this card's a destroy battle or card effect, you can spirit summon level 6 or lower Dinomorphia monster from your graveyard, so it even has a nice float effect as well. Honestly, an absolutely bonkers card for this deck list. The other new card in this deck list you wouldn't have seen in my last Dinomorphia video is of course going to be Soul of the Supreme King, which is a fairly new card that only got released fairly recently, so you guys might not have seen this card before. Pay half your life points to spell summon Supreme King Zark from your extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions, but negates effects. It is returned to the extra deck during the end phase of the next turn. So basically you activate this trap card, pay half your life points, summon out a 4,000 attack beat stick, that just has its effects negated, and will eventually shuffle itself back into the extra deck. But the point isn't necessarily to summon a giant beat stick, it's the effect that comes with it. So basically, When your opponent activates a spell or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard and one Supreme Zark from your face-up monster zone, special summon up to one of each Pendulum Dragon, Xyz Dragon, Synchro Dragon, and Fusion Dragon monsters from your extra deck, or graveyard. So honestly, this card is really bonkers, because it basically means your opponent will just not want to use spell cards. It's kind of like activating something like an anti-spell Fragrance, but without actually having the floodgate active, it just gives your opponent the choice to use spell cards. They can use them, but if they do, they're going to have to face a Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon, an Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon, a Starving Venom Predapower bullshit, and also a Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon as well. So they're going to be having a stack of like 8,000, 9,000, I don't know how much attack it is, like 12,000 attack total on the field they had to deal with if they choose to use any single spell card. But other than that, the rest of the deck was still just standard Dinomorphia stuff you would have seen in my last video, and if you haven't, feel free to just check out my last Dinomorphia video and I'll explain all the cards in there and go a bit more in depth. But without further ado, let's just get into some gameplay. Alright, so today I have 3 replays to show you guys, all of which were taken from just standard rank duels in Diamond Rank. Now you'll notice, I didn't actually go up a rank playing this deck list. That's because this deck's win rate, I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't particularly great. It wasn't bad, I could probably use this deck to climb if I wanted to, and it'd take a pretty long while, but like I mentioned earlier, it's sort of just a go first or bust sort of a deck list most of the time, unless you're against a slow deck or another trap deck, so it's not the greatest for climbing, but if you're low rank, you'll easily climb with this deck list, and if you want to reach Diamond 1 with it, you probably could, it'd just take a long time. So without further ado, let's just talk about the deck. Alright, so I'm going to take my pot of Duality, look at my top 3. This card's really good in this deck because you don't actually use any special summoning on your first turn. Fossil Dig, my opponent Ash Blossoms. It's actually a really cool replay. So, pretty annoying Ash Blossom, but it's not too bad because it means he's now not going to be able to Ash Blossom my Dinomorphia Domain. Set 3, pass the turn. Alright, activate my Domain. Oh sorry, he's going to activate his dude first. I activate Domain. Generally, I want to use my Domain as quickly as possible, because now you're trying to get out a Floodgate, so you want your Floodgate out as quickly as possible, so they can't activate monster effects. He has Ash Blossom for it, which is really kind of, like, painful. But it's not that bad, because we have Trap Trick on the field. And this is one of the significant advantages of having 2 Fusion Trap cards now. If one gets ashed, since there are once per turn, it doesn't matter anymore if you have the other one on the field, because you can still just summon it out. Summon out a fusion monster. And you can still duplicate the trap cards in graveyard using your fusion monster, so you just don't care. So we got ashed, a bit annoying, but we had Trap Trick, so now we can just summon out my dude instead. Frenzy paying another 2,000, we're now at 2,000 life points. Summon out our Kentregina. Hope he doesn't have an effect available. Oh, it's only during my turn anyway. Use the trap card in graveyard by using this card monster effect, pay another 1,000 life points, and summon out the new fusion monster, Rexterm. Now my opponent can't activate any monster effects of any monster that's lower attack than my life points, so he can only activate monster effects from things that have less than 1,000 attack right now. So he's going to use that, going to an Almirage. At this point I think he was just, I don't know what he was looking for, goes into a Verta, he can actually use its effect. Summons out his Destiny Hero card. Literally, we don't care. Can't use its effect. Does reduce the attack of my cards though, which could have been a little bit annoying, but it doesn't matter because this card can actually just quick effect change its attack to my life points anyway, so it can't beat over these. Alright, I can then copy my trap card in graveyard. One he Ash Blossomed. Send 2 dudes to the graveyard. Summon out another Kentregina, and from here we have just lethal on field. And we didn't even have to use our Dinomorphia Brute to pop anything. Alright. Alright. Absolutely crazy deck, this one. Only going first, though. Going second, you're going to be pretty depressed. I don't know why win rate was going second, but I don't even know if I won a game going second. That's just how bad it was. I think I might have won 1 game, but it was a pretty shit replay, so I didn't bother saving it. It's probably more likely my opponent bricks than me actually doing anything to actually win, so yeah. But your win rate going first is pretty damn mental, so I'd be pretty surprised if you couldn't climb with this deck list, since going first, you must have an insane win rate, and going second, if your opponent just bricks a couple of times, or if you just come across a slow deck every now and then, you will probably win more than you're losing overall, but yeah, like I said, it's not that great as a climbing sort of a deck. Alright, adding my Sonic, so now I have a negate if I want to use it. Since I had both my, actually, sorry, I had a Trap Trick and I had my other fusion card here somewhere, wherever it was. So I thought I did. Alright, activate my anti-spell Fragrance. He's going to use his branded opening response, so I can't... Also, he doesn't actually... Yeah, isn't under the effect of anti-spell Fragrance yet. There's my trap card. I was looking for you. Alright. So from this point, this deck list is, it's branded. You know they rely on a couple of spell cards to be able to play, so they're kind of in a bit of a rough spot when they're under anti-spell Fragrance. So we've probably already won from here, just from this card alone. Alright, activate my Frenzy, using my card from extra deck. I think he had Nash Blossom. But once again, we still have a Trap Trick, I believe, somewhere? No, we don't have Trap Trick. Okay, I'm just getting the oh no, we do have Trap Trick. What am I doing? What am I saying? Getting all the replays mixed up. Alright, so I can just Trap Trick. Send my other copy, bring out my Domain, and now I can still conduct a Fusion Summon. Bringing out Kentregina. Pay my life points, summon out another big dude. And once again, he is now completely floodgated from any monster effect from 1,000 attack or lower. And he just concedes from there, he knows it's doomed. Alright. On to the final replay. Which I think wasn't quite as good as the other two, if I remember correctly. And again, it's definitely going first. Alright. Opened both fusion traps this time. Alright, part of Duality. Looking at the top three, seeing a Solemn. Generally, it's a good idea to pick up either one anti-spell Fragrance, one Solemn, or one copy of your card that stops them wanting to activate Thin Summons are, because you generally don't want them to be able to activate spell cards, or at least run the risk of summoning out a billion dragons if they do, simply because Harpy's Feather Dust are extremely common. Things like Cosmic Cyclone, although they can Cosmic Cyclone chain to your anti-spell Fragrance, but yeah, things like Solemn just stop all that bullshit so your opponent isn't going to just wipe your field instantly, because Harpy's Feather Dust or a Lightning Storm will just end your game. Alright. Opponent's going to activate a Magical Musket. I actually misplayed a bit here. I think I 100% should have just used my Brute, or I should have Solemn Strike this and popped this thing immediately, because I'm pretty sure Magical Mustards use their spell cards whilst this card is face up on the field, or whilst a monster is face up on the field. So I probably should have gotten rid of the Magical Musket instantly, so they can't use any of their potential negates or anything in hand. I don't particularly remember what the Magical Muskets run. I just know if you get rid of their monster, they can't use their annoying stuff from hand. So I probably should remove this before activating my Domain. Either way, still won anyway, so never punished from misplaying. Summon Kentregina. I realized my mistake, I think, so I take Frenzy, and then I immediately activate my Brute. Also, it's important to note that since I've already put some dudes in the graveyard, I can now actually use my Therizia effect to bring back the card from graveyard, because I popped it. To summon Brute, because my Therizia got popped, I can bring back one of those dudes I just used for fusion material. Seeing another card to graveyard. I'll send myself a copy of Alert, so I can summon some dudes back. During his end phase, I'm going to pop one of the cards on his field. Use this dude's effect, and bring back my Therizia. My Therizia. Therizia? I have no idea how to pronounce that name. Alright, and setting my Sonic from my dude's effect. So now even if you want, no matter what this trap card is, I don't care, I can negate it whenever I like. Get that shit out of here. Bring back my two dudes. Now, I kind of misplayed here because I completely forgot that when you activate your Alert's effect, these cards can't actually attack this turn, so I thought I had lethal here. Turns out, yeah, it wasn't quite lethal. I think if I just did some more fusion something, I would have had lethal this turn, but who cares? Because I technically have lethal anyway, I'll just do it during his turn. So do a bit of damage to him, get his life points below 500. And then during his turn, as soon as he gets anything on the field that I can destroy, I can use my Brute, which will in turn destroy my Tracer, bring back my other copy of Diplos, and deal 500 damage to his life points, finishing the game. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.